Now then, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
I can hear you. Why do you think I might not be able to hear you?
Oh, it came up with my microphone being muted, that little icon, but that seems to have gone on its own.
Well, it's been a while, hasn't it?
It
Since we've
has,
done
yeah.
this?
It took a little while just to remember. I'd forgotten the passcode. I had to look it up in my sideways notebook.
Oh, do you have to put a passcode in?
Yeah,
That's fair enough, though, isn't it? Because you wouldn't want any old rapscallion joining the call, would
Tom,
you?
Dick, or Harry.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Tom,
exactly.
Dick, or Harry Redknapp.
Well, yeah, he could join.
Do you think? I don't think he'd be much. I don't think he'd be of much help.
He wouldn't really. He does love his red wine and stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not this time in the morning, though. I wouldn't have thought.
Well, you never know.
No, you don't.
Cluffy used to.
Did he?
Yeah.
I can't believe we've got onto football day one.
Straight away. We should be more mindful.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to talk about mindfulness, do you?
Not really, no.
We haven't done mindfulness, I don't think, have we?
I don't know if we have or not. It's quite a broad subject, isn't it? Perhaps we should address that at some point.
What, you mean like depression? Like you've avoided depression for 5 years so
I have.
far? Yeah.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, nice to see you.
And you, sir. And you. And it's we stopped at episode 234 before the break, which was...
Did we? I know you like little nuggets like that.
There's an element of symmetry about it, and I like that.
Yeah.
Or organisation.
Yeah, we stopped quite abruptly as well, didn't we? I suppose we owe the listener an apology.
Yeah, we do really. We just disappeared, didn't we?
I'll tell you what happened. What happened was I said to you, are we doing the pod this week?
Yeah.
And you said no, we're on holiday now. and I said, well, we should probably put an announcement out. And I said I'd give it some thought. And I just forgot about it.
You didn't give it some thought, which was all right.
So if you wonder where we'd gone or perhaps thought that we just disappeared forever, I mean, you might have been happy about that.
Well,
so unfortunately for you, we are back. But if you were unhappy about it, then, well, happily for you, we're back.
Well, it feeds very nicely into the subject matter of today, really, which is it's talking about shunning, really, but it's the term used is shunishment.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you've come across that term before.
No, I hadn't come across it before. I did a little bit of research on it, and so I needed to refine my view of it, because my initial response was, oh, fucking hell. Another stupid word that doesn't mean anything. But actually, I've done a full 180. I've come to be very supportive of it.
Excellent. Well, it was a term that it just came up in conversation.
Really?
Yeah, someone used it.
Wow. Wow.
And as I've done in the past with words or terms that I come across, I decided to explore it further.
Yeah.
Especially as I knew nothing about it. But as it turns out, it's something that seems to be very prevalent amongst those with an addiction issue in a relationship with someone who doesn't. So
I suspect they probably experience it both ways.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so it became, not only was it just because I've looked at words before and decided not to do episodes on them because I can't sort of make it fit.
Or you can't understand them.
Or I can't understand them properly. They're too complex. But I've managed to sort of shoehorn this one in.
Oh, good.
But just before we start talking about shunishment, there was... I know we've talked in the past about seagulls nicking joints off of people and getting high and stuff and that, but there was a study carried out in California found that chimps of eating fermented fruit in their native habitat, like Uganda and Ivory Coast, consumed the equivalent of 2 alcoholic drinks a day. And
so they're bang on it.
Well, they're bang on. They've been seen to share the fruit, almost like have one of these, son. Like encouraging other chimps to get involved, and
the younger chimps, perhaps.
The younger chimps, yeah, dragging them in and having like party-like events while eating them. Now, although it's not conclusive that the chimps seek out the fruit with a higher alcohol content, but it may well be true.
Yeah,
there's signs that some of the elders amongst the what's a collection of monkeys called?
I don't know. The
Colony.
collective noun for monkeys.
Yeah.
I'll find it out while we're talking.
Okay.
Yeah. You carry on.
Some of the elders amongst that collective term may well be leaning towards the higher end of the alcoholic fruit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could get alongside that, couldn't you, back in the day?
Oh, very much so.
The collective noun for monkeys. Well, there's a troop of monkeys.
A troop. Okay,
But
yeah.
here's a couple of other words that are used, which are quite good. A tribe of monkeys.
Yeah.
Right? They're both perfectly reasonable, aren't they?
Perfectly straightforward.
The third one is a cartload.
Excuse me. It's a cartload.
I reckon that is a collective noun that was established by a pissed monkey.
It probably was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Now, actually, thinking about that, the elders leading the younger ones astray. I mean, that's kind of what you did to me when we went to Reading in 1980, 1981.
I think you're putting a spin on it without real evidence.
Well, no, I was so it was 81, wasn't it? Because I was quite young.
Yeah.
And you led me astray with a pile of John Smiths.
I was trying to make you feel welcome. That was it.
I felt sick. I don't know about welcome.
But I was just going to apologise. I've got a croaky throat. I've had a bad cough and cold this week, which is.
Have you?
Yeah, which is it's on its way out.
You're on your way out.
It is on its way. I hope I'm not. I don't think it's fatal.
I was going to say, bloody hell, that's quite a reveal.
It seems to be getting better. Yeah, that would put the damper on what we're going to talk about. But I'm very much alive. But I just may sound a bit croaky, and I may have to turn away from the mic to cough from time to time.
Oh, that's right. So what you're basically saying is I'm going to have to do a lot of editing.
You don't normally bother. You just normally leave them in, don't you?
I haven't bothered editing. I hadn't done for a few months. But, maybe now with a new season, I might feel a renewed vigour.
You might put your best foot forward. Yeah, you're right.
I might do. Unlikely, but it's possible.
No, we won't hold our breath on that one.
No.
Anyway,
don't you hold your breath, not if you've had a bad chest.
I can't very much.
You'll keel over.
I'll just wheeze. Anyway, shunishment. What is shunishment? Question mark. Shall I tell you what it is? You've obviously done some research, but my research shows that shunishment is a trend where someone uses their presence as a reward and absence as a punishment, like using the relationship as leverage for control.
Yeah.
I don't think our absence from the airwaves that can't be seen as shunishment, really, can it?
Not really. I mean, I don't think you can collectively exert shunishment upon a group of people, can you? Like the entire listener base.
No.
And anyway, we weren't doing it for control purposes, were we?
No, we weren't.
We were just doing it because we were too bone idle to get up and do this on a Sunday morning.
Well, quite exactly that. We needed a bit of a summer rest, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, I think probably in fairness to you more than me.
Yeah, probably.
Because you probably work harder than I do.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. That may always have been the case. Actually, if we think back.
I don't know about that. I think we both have ridden the corporate train at times, which has dragged us along. Forcing us to be.
So no, I don't think that was shunishment. I think we just decided it was time for a holiday.
Yeah.
And couldn't be bothered to let people know.
No. Yeah. Which is very much our MO, isn't it?
It's just idleness. That's not shunishment.
It is.
Yeah.
Which is a bit like, with shunishment, rather than helping a person get their needs met.
Yeah.
Shunishment is used to keep others on their toes.
Yes.
It sort of relies on a vague, ever-changing, set of rules, really, coupled with the other's known investment in the relationship.
Would you be interested in the genesis of my 180 turn on the turn?
I would, and I think that's an appropriate time to bring it in because.
All right. When you first said I'm going to talk about shunishment, I thought, another one of these ridiculous phrases that come from nowhere. Anyway, a few weeks ago, I wrote a piece on Substack about the how therapy language has been embraced as part of the common vernacular, and people bandy about psychological phrases with gay abandon.
Yeah,
without really knowing what they mean, and therefore potentially diminishing the importance of them.
I agree.
So on the basis of that, on the basis of my argument, this is not a good thing to do. This essentially, shunishment is a word that has been developed, or I suppose developed is the right word, to describe something that people haven't necessarily got the language for. You know, in therapy terms, we'd call it coercive control or silent treatment or relational aggression.
Yeah.
So in fact, creating your own word, and I think it probably originated on social media, didn't it? But creating your own word for something that perhaps is not easy to describe outside of the kind of psychological realm, I think is probably a good thing, because it separates therapeutic language from the language that people want to use to describe a phenomenon that they're experiencing in their lives. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense, and I'm pleased you've put so much thought into it and come up with an answer. You knew what you fed into the narrative. You knew what the end game was, and you've found a way to enjoy it and embrace it.
Yeah, it won't last, but
of course not.
I'm enthusiastic. It's like, you know, when term starts in school, when we used to be at school, you'd get out into probably Superdrug, as it was at the time, and you buy yourself some new pens.
Yeah.
And a pad and a ruler and a pencil case and everything. You'd think, oh, I'm quite excited about going back to school. And about 11 o'clock on the first day back, you'd think, Christ, this is boring.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Well, I used to make sure my football boots were all polished and dubbined up properly.
Yeah.
For the new school season.
How long did that last?
Until the first game, really, when they got dirty and muddy and the shin pads got a bit kicked, and that was it. Yeah, that excitement had gone.
And that is saying something, isn't it? Because you're the sort of person that would religiously go back and, you know, make sure things are in good nick. So if even you weren't doing it, it shows how difficult it was to maintain. Anyway, I'm getting us off the subject, which I know is not unusual.
It's not unusual.
So basically, I felt that the development of the word shunishment is better than misusing therapeutic language. So I'm all in favour. Lovely.
Excellent. But again, it works into the in what we talk about quite nicely, because I know these relationships where an addict in a relationship can sometimes be fed alcohol and drugs by means of control.
Oh, right.
And then so the substance becomes part of the shunishment as well.
Right. Okay. And presumably, if someone, I mean, I've known I'm sure you'll have seen this hundreds of times, but I had a client recently whose partner was saying they were going to stop drinking, and I'm thinking, I don't think they are going to stop drinking.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen in this case, but I can imagine situations where someone's partner will say, I'm going to stop, and they don't stop, and then they're given the silent treatment as a result. They're kind of punished for saying they're going to do something which actually they probably don't have the control to do, right?
Yeah. It happens all the time. Or people will make them feel guilty and say, well, I've had to give up because of you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, it can be, it's a tricky path to navigate.
Yeah.
When you have this situation arising.
Yeah.
And shunishment, it's used to keep control of the relationship through fault finding as well, and devaluing, and discarding without the opportunity for repair. It can leave the other party sort of walking on eggshells, and fearful of the next spell of silence. And addiction is a constant stick to beat someone with. And they'd also, that they'll walk away. People will walk away constantly and say, "I can't help you. This is too much for me to handle," but then come back with a bottle of whiskey.
So you would say, in your experience, on balance, the shunisher, which I suppose must be
rather than the
rather than the shunishee, is more likely to be the partner or a friend or a relative of the person in addiction.
Well, I think it can cut both ways.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think it's not when it's the person in addiction. It's not a thought process someone would go through. It's almost forced upon them by their condition. Well, there will be absent emotionally, and will go off for long periods of absence, just to indulge in their drug of choice. So it can cut both ways.
So I suppose in a situation where addiction is at the centre of it, what we're really identifying is that whichever way it's going, it's almost, there's a kind of aspect of involuntary behaviour about it. Because if you're in a relationship with someone with an addiction problem, you must get to the point frequently where you are just exasperated, where you feel so frustrated, you think, what the hell am I going to do? You know, I've tried being really lovely. I've tried giving them silent treatment and, you know, telling them they're ruining my life. Nothing seems to be working, which I think sort of comes back to something we've spoken about in the past, which is, you know, if you're in that situation, you need to make sure that you control the agency you have over your own actions rather than expecting someone else to change theirs.
That's absolutely right. But it comes across also, if you throw into someone that's got an avoidant attachment style as well, you know, shunishment, it's habitually used to keep people at arm's length. And it provides a way of preventing people from getting too close, doesn't it? I mean, it doesn't have to be just people with addiction issues that have this within their relationship. You know, and over time, that treatment can leave one person feeling very alone.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got an anxious avoidant attachment style, you're also likely to. It wouldn't be unusual for you to use shunishment to the other person, to the person you're with, because of that fundamental feeling that you're not good enough. It's inevitable they're going to leave you. And so as soon as they do something that you feel is an indication that they're about to leave you or they're getting tired of you, you know, you're like checking out. Oh, that's it. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to answer your texts, because it's like, you know, a feeling that the inevitable is about to take place.
And that's a horrible feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there was a one line that came up in my research that wasn't really expanded upon, so I just wondered what you thought about this. It said that marginalised groups are at greatest risk for shunishment. And my initial thought on that is it something like the shunisher sees it as sort of as a gift to someone, and they say that, you know, they're given this gift because they're putting up with their fallibility.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, that is, certainly you could see it like that, couldn't you? Yeah. You could see it as if you know, you're kind of doing someone a favour by supporting them or loving them or whatever. Yeah. So, or I suppose you could also see it as, if you're a marginalised group, then it's easier to point out behaviours. You might find it easier to point out behaviours or aspects of what's going on that you find unacceptable. Yeah. Just because this person is in a marginalised group. Yeah. So, yeah, I suppose that's probably what happens more. It's like it's perhaps easier to justify if that is your tendency. Yeah. Yeah, that was my thoughts, and I know it did mention that sometimes people shunish people from certain sexual orientations within a group. Exactly. You know, when it gets pointed out to them, or someone confides in them, they may use that again because they're marginalised. Yeah, because the root of it is you're gonna shunish someone if you feel as if they're not behaving in a way that you want them to. Yeah, yeah. So if someone's from a marginalised group, there is a greater likelihood that they're not going to behave in a way that you think is right or acceptable or benefits you or whatever else it might be. So, yeah, that makes sense. It does, and I just wanted to look at there's three signs really. The first two are very similar, but there's three signs that you may be experiencing shunishment within a relationship. I'm going to look out for them. Look out for them, yeah. The first one is that you don't know the rules. So when you are the shunishee, it's hard to know where the boundaries are. Yeah. And the rules can be kept deliberately sort of clouded. And this it can also allow the shunisher to declare a victim stance at any given sort of slight and withdraw. Well, there's a great sort of convergence here with gaslighting. Yeah, there are. Yeah, I saw that, and narcissism as well. You can have elements of that in there. It's your fault that this is happening. Yeah, you know, don't blame me for not calling you, or it's you did this. You brought this on yourself. It's like that sort of stuff. It is that sort of stuff. Which is a manifestation of, well, I don't know what the rules are. What have I done wrong? You can hear people saying that. What have I done? I don't know what I've done. Well, you should think about it. Just you sit there and think about it.
Sorry, that made me laugh and cough because I think I related to that somewhat.
That made you laugh and cough. Do you mean loff?
Yeah. If that's the collective term.
Well, it's the same as shunishing.
It is the same as shunishing.
Which is shunning and punishment, isn't it?
It is.
Suppose,
And I think just going back to the point 2 really was very similar to the one about not knowing the rules. The second sign that you're experiencing shunishment in a relationship is where the rules keep changing.
Yeah.
So if you're on the receiving end of the shunishment, what the other is able to and willing to tolerate can change from day to day.
Yeah, which is, as you say, it's the same as not knowing the rules. Because
it is.
The reason you don't know the rules is because they keep changing. And the benefit, I suppose, as the shunisher of changing the rules all the time is you can make sure that you always have an opportunity to behave the way that you want to. Yeah,
it is. And look at it from the other aspect of from the addict's point of view, being in a relationship with someone. The addict could say, "Yeah, we ought to talk about my drinking at some point. We'll talk about that later on today." They might say that on the phone before they get home, and when they get home, we've had a few drinks, and say, "No, I'm not talking about that now." And the rules change from that aspect, so they'll go into the periods of silence, and so they could be the shunisher. So it can flip flop, definitely.
Yeah.
I thought you had a look.
I'm just thinking about something. I'm thinking about how
you had that look.
Yeah, what the sort of gazing into the distance look.
Yeah, pensive.
Oh, pensive. That's a good word. It's gone now. It'll come back in a minute, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So when the rules do keep changing.
Oh, I know what it was.
Oh, go on. I'll let you.
I mean, you might be coming on to this anyway,
okay,
but I think as we're talking about these kind of points, the sort of things to look out for that might indicate shunishment in operation, I'm kind of constantly thinking about, what's going on in the person who's doing the shunishing? What is happening in them? What is this all really all about? And I keep coming back to the same thing, which is what we referenced a few minutes ago, which is the person who's doing this is not recognizing the importance of controlling their own behavior, and they're so focused on wanting someone else to do what they want, they've lost sight of the only thing they can really control, which is the way they behave. In relationships, it's so much easier. We think it is. It's so much easier to think, wouldn't it be nice if the other person changed?
Yeah.
So that they behave in a way that I find acceptable, rather than taking responsibility for our dissatisfaction and unhappiness and thinking, well, I'm going to behave in a certain way that gives me the feeling that I want. But that isn't, that will never come about through trying to control someone else. It can only come about through controlling what you do. If you're not happy in a situation, get out of it or confront it. But don't, all the time you're telling someone else, well, it's your fault. I'm going to treat you in this way or that way until you behave the way I want you to. I mean, it's never going to work, is it?
Well, it's not. And it seems to me, just listening to what you're saying there, it's almost the shunisher, it can be rooted in playing the victim, can't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It is, because you never need to treat anybody else badly if you're feeling okay yourself. That's fundamentally if you. Yeah. I mean, I guess a lot of people who are engaging in this behaviour probably don't realise they are behaving unreasonably. But if you can see that you're behaving unreasonably towards someone, you kind of have that. You kind of have that knowledge, but you don't really want to look at it. That is a sure sign that you are not taking responsibility for yourself. What you're trying to do is you're trying to give someone else the responsibility for your happiness. Behave in these ways that I want you to behave in, and I can be happy. No, you behave in the ways you want to behave, and to give yourself that kind of satisfaction and balance.
Yeah. No, that seems perfectly plausible. And there was something I was going to say there, but I've forgotten that as well.
It'll probably come back to you.
There's been a lot of forgetting going on already, hasn't there? We're out of practice.
I mean, if you think about that relationship between someone with addiction problems and someone else who doesn't have addiction problems, it's understandable. It kind of makes sense, doesn't it, that both parties would prefer that the other person change so that they'd be okay.
Yeah.
If you've got an addiction problem, it's easier for you if your partner says, "Yeah, that's fine. You crack on with your drinking." And for someone who's the partner of someone with an addiction problem, it would be easier if the person with the problem suddenly got rid of the problem.
Yeah.
So it does make sense, but that's very rarely the way out of a relational issue. Usually, you have to take responsibility for what you want,
Yeah.
even if that requires some difficult decisions.
I agree. And just moving on to the third point, the third sign, I should say, is that you can get set up. And I'll expand on that. A key sign of shunishment is setting someone up to cross those limits. Mm-hmm. You know, whilst we're, as you said, we're not responsible for other people's behaviours. A shunisher, and I've seen this happen, might contrive a situation where the other person is set to fail. An example that came up in the research was someone might drop a note of an important conversation at the very end of the evening, knowing the other is ready to end the talk and go off to bed, and then become angry that they were not adequately heard. So again, it's playing the victim card to a certain extent, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same stuff, isn't it? It's manipulating the situation so that you make the other person the aggressor, when really you're not taking responsibility for your own stuff.
Yeah, you are exactly that, and you've the next part of my notes was about how to respond to shunishment, but you have started to address some of this.
Oh, sorry about that.
Well, no, you didn't know.
No, I didn't. Know? Don't shunish me.
I'm not going to.
You're going to give me the silent treatment now.
That would be good on here, wouldn't it? A pause for thought, a very long gap. But yeah, again, there's just 3 quick points really about if you are in this situation, you want to respond to it. But the point I was going to make, I have just remembered about the shunisher. I can't imagine many people would come into you and sit with you during a therapy session and say that they are a shunisher. I can't imagine that you may tell me I'm completely wrong, and people often come in and confess that sort of thing. But I can't imagine that, because it seems to be steeped in playing the victim. I can't imagine anyone would say, you know, I'm being bad in my relationship because I am shunishing someone.
No, nobody would say that. I think that what might emerge through a conversation when someone is talking about a relationship they have problems with, it might emerge, or you might be able to see some of the things that they are doing that are not helping, and then you would gently, point them towards those things.
Yeah.
In terms of trying to find ways in which they might be able to improve the situation. And of course, the other place it does come out commonly is in couples work.
Okay.
If you're working with couples, then you can often see that one person's behaviour is unhelpful to the objective of that couple, which is often to make their relationship better. Sometimes it's to part amicably, but if their objective is to make that relationship better, then it is important to be able to point out behaviours that are taking place in that relationship that are controlling or manipulative or are unhealthy, toxic. So you wouldn't get someone come in and say, my problem is I'm a shunisher, but certainly some of these, the silent treatment, the sort of controlling behaviour, relational aggression, certainly they do come up in therapy. I can see that I can understand, especially in couples therapy, where there is obviously there's someone that can point out that there's shunishment going on, perhaps. That's to me, that's part of the benefit of couples therapy. If you've got a couple that are pointing out bad behaviour to one another, that's kind of a race to zero. But if you've got a third party that can hear what's going on and say, well, what do you think that feels like when you do that? Or what impact do you think, what impact do you imagine that's happening? And actually, what impact is it happening? Usually if people have got to the point where they're willing to come to couples therapy, they're usually more willing and more open to listening to that than they would be from one another.
That all makes perfect sense. So I'll come back from that point now that I suddenly thought of, and you've responded very well to.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for that. No,
it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
I wonder how long this cordial atmosphere is going to last.
So these points about how to respond to shunishment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about. Anyway, what do you think here?
Let's hear.
The first one was be direct. It says that shunishment is by nature indirect, maintaining plausible deniability. You can counter this by being direct. this is a bit I'm not quite sure about. You may, for example, ask permission before bringing up a topic. If you feel set up or if you're worried about how to approach something without crossing the other, say so. Is that taking too much of a passive stance, or is that an open?
No, I think that's okay. I mean, I think that in any of these sort of situations, the caveat is always personal safety.
Yeah.
Because I can see situations that would be described by the word shunishment, might not be the psychological term that you'd use, but where actually one party in the relationship is potentially in danger if they don't play by the rules. And I think in those situations, it would be dangerous to be direct.
Yeah.
So with the caveat of you always need to prioritise your personal safety, if you don't feel as if your personal safety is at risk, I think it is legitimate to say, listen, I'm feeling like, if I bring something up or whatever, it's like I can't win. It's like whatever I say, there's always a reason why it's not okay. So I'd like to talk to you about X, Y, Z. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Can we have a conversation about that? I think that's perfectly reasonable. I think that's a legitimate way forward, as long as I say, you don't feel as if that puts you at any risk.
Yeah, no, that makes sense of that point, certainly. So it's allayed my fears about that one. But the second one was pretty similar, really, but speaking openly about your boundaries.
I mean, this is all about boundaries, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah. It's
about an absence of boundaries. It's about not respecting the other person's boundaries, and your boundaries being so invisible or flexible that it's impossible for the other person to know what's okay and what isn't. Yeah. So again, with the caveat of personal safety, I think a conversation about boundaries, rules, what's going on here, because I don't feel emotionally safe when I'm talking. If we talk about this, I feel as if I'm emotionally under threat all the time. And so, unless we can change that, it's going to be difficult for us to find any way forward. I think the difficulty with all of these suggestions about how to deal with this situation is when I think about the way I would describe shunishment in therapeutic terms, I would feel worried about the person who's being shunished.
Yeah.
My first thought would be, is this person safe?
Yeah.
So whenever there is this kind of, this is the way to deal with it, or you could deal with it this way, I'm thinking, okay, but I know I'm labouring the point, but in these situations there does tend to be the spectre of threat hanging over, because otherwise people don't tend to behave like this. If you're manipulating someone and you're controlling them and you're punishing them when they don't do what you want, that is the thin end of a wedge. So again, yes, I think it's okay to establish boundaries as long as you don't feel as if that's going to put you at risk.
Yeah, I agree. And the example that come up in the research, which is quite relevant, actually, one of the boundaries that they suggested was that, look, I'm not okay at meeting at the pub to discuss this. which is a great boundary to have in place, especially if someone does have alcohol issues.
Yeah.
But also, it's a bit more of a, I don't know. Would you feel safer in that environment, or safer the two of you discussing things at home? It's a tough one, isn't it?
Well, it's a tough one. I mean, for example, one of the reasons you might say, I don't want to meet at the pub to talk about this, other than you've got addiction problems, would be you don't want to talk about personal stuff in a public space. Yeah. Which I think is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, I do.
It's also if I say to you, let's go and chat about it in the pub, which obviously I wouldn't to you, but if I did, there is an inference of informality.
Yeah, true.
It's like, oh yeah, come on, let's go. And if you feel like this is something very serious and important, then I probably don't want to sit in the pub with you and talk about it. I want to, So this also is a boundary thing, because it's about finding a way of being able to talk to someone that suits both of you. So, for example, some people find it very difficult to talk about serious subjects if they sit face to face.
Yeah.
They might find it easier if we went for a walk and talked about it, because if we're walking side by side, we're not having to look at each other all the time. That doesn't feel quite as intense, and I can probably be more honest about what I want to say. And all of these things are more likely to be accommodated if the person that you're talking to is as interested in your well-being as they are in their own.
Yeah.
Which obviously is not the case if you're being shunished, because a shunisher is most interested in what they want, and they're not really interested in what you want, which brings me straight back to what's the threat level here?
Quite, and I think that is a very good point. And that going for the walk sounds. I know you've done that sort of thing in the past, haven't you? Walking therapies and stuff. And I think sometimes it is easier to perhaps, again, not sitting looking at each other, sitting side by side, where you can perhaps marshal your thoughts a little bit better without looking at the other person's expressions changing.
Exactly. Yeah. So do it in the cinema.
Do it in the dark, with balaclavas on.
On a bus. Do it on a bus.
I think it looked quite sinister with those balaclavas on, talking especially the ones that people like Kneecap use. Anyway, the third point was, which again sort of rounds this up quite nicely, but it gives it some sort of balance as well, is to give them grace. Sometimes people genuinely do feel overwhelmed, and withdrawal is not always meant to hurt the other. Again, really prevalent amongst people with addiction issues, where their partner just gets exasperated, and you touched on that earlier on.
Go on, sorry.
So you can have a level of understanding of why it feels like you're being shunished.
Exactly that. I think that's exactly what I was going to say. So this is really a situation whereby you feel as if you're being shunished, but really what is going on is the other person is feeling frustrated or overwhelmed or at their wits' end about, I don't know what to do. Yeah. So this is, it's important not to assume that you're being controlled and manipulated, because it might be that actually the situation is just one that the other person is finding very difficult to navigate. And if you feel, if that's possible, then obviously you can raise that. You can say to someone, listen, I'm feeling that it's difficult to talk to you, and I'm wondering how you're feeling about this situation. What are you feeling? And if the other person says, I just feel like I don't know what to do, I can't, whatever I do, it seems like I can't fix it, then in a funny sort of way, that's progress.
Yeah, it is.
You might not have reached a place where you can fix what the problems are, but if you're both able to recognise neither of us know what to do about this, then it's probably time to find some help. But at least that in itself is a step forward.
It is, yeah. So so a compassionate response can sometimes be warranted. That's all I'm saying. And this one,
yeah, agreed.
So I think that rounds that up nicely. And good. I've come to the end of my notes. So,
well, that was surprisingly enjoyable.
Thank you. Yeah, it's quite nice. It's quite nice to be back, isn't it?
Yeah, in many ways, wasn't it? The sun shining.
Yeah, it is still at the moment. Well, I suspect to be one of the last Sunday mornings that we record and the sun is bright outside.
Well, you never know. I mean, I know you're a bit of a fair weather dude, aren't you? You don't really like going out in the cold and wet. And
no, I know I can feel my mood change as the autumn leaves.
How will we know? You're usually a curmudgeonly bastard, as it is.
It is. It's only slightly lightened by the warm weather. So anyway, yes, we're getting on to it's the conundrum feature. I don't know.
Is it? Well, I bet you'd be surprised. You wouldn't be surprised if I said I haven't got one, would you?
Actually, no, because I think you had a list.
Yeah. Well, I've got one anyway. So.
You have got one. Good. Yeah. Good work.
And I suppose it's in a funny, and I didn't plan this, in a funny sort of way, it's vaguely related to the topic we've been discussing.
Okay.
All right. So here's the dilemma. A friend only shows when they need something, and you make all the running. Do you confront them? Do you put up with it? Or do you just stop replying to them?
Okay. A friend only shows when they need something.
Yeah, so this is really about, those one-sided relationships where you might when you reflect on it one day, you might think, blimey, so-and-so never calls me. They're never in touch unless they need something. And if we make plans, I'm always the one that makes plans. I always have to call them. Those relationships that feel like they're just flipping hard work and the other person never does anything. How would you deal with that?
It is a tricky one. And my first thought was, I often feel that that I'm aware of myself doing that, and so I put stuff in place where that it doesn't come across like that. So I'm aware that can. I think everyone can fall into that quite easily. Some relationships with friends, you can go an awful long time and not speak, and something will bring you together as to why you need to speak to each other. So it's very difficult to have a large group of friends in which you're constantly in contact with. It's gonna appear like you pop your head above the parapet when something's needed. So I don't find that a problem if other people do it.
So are you saying then, because you recognise perhaps yourself playing that role sometimes, when you feel as if you're in a relationship with someone and you're on the receiving end of it, you are more accommodating. You let it go more easily.
Yeah, I do, and I consider, because I do have quite a wide circle of friends, I couldn't possibly just contact everyone, just say, all right.
Oh, look at you! Look at you with all your friends.
No, and that's just an evolution. It's just that I've crossed paths with lots of people that I do maintain some sort of contact with. But it's so I do recognise. I think that's everyone. I hate to feel that I'd be put something in that position where I would just appear to be getting in contact when I need something. But I know it can come across like that. So I know a lot of people feel the same. So I don't see it as a problem particularly. If it's someone coming on asking for quite significant stuff after you haven't seen them for a long time, I'd feel that's a bit strange.
And so what would you do in that situation if you felt you had someone so let's hypothetically, let's say there was someone in your life you thought was just taking the piss.
Yeah.
They only showed up when they wanted to borrow a fiver, or they wanted you to do something, help them with their car or whatever, give them a lift somewhere.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a friend I've got whose neighbour, who he didn't really know at all. He just knew him as a neighbour. He knocked on his door one day and asked him if he could give him and his wife a lift to the station.
It is quite strange, but that does remind me of. It does remind me of someone I used to work with. His sister was very much in the position where she would really take liberties in what she would ask her friends. And she rang someone once. She needed to go up north, and she rang someone in Sheffield that she'd met about 20 years previously and said, "Is it all right if I come and stay?" I mean, that's the ultimate liberty, isn't it? And they
the thought of that just makes me feel awkward.
It makes you shudder. But they said yes.
What?
Yeah, they said yeah, no, that's all right. Come along.
Wow. Well, I mean, I suppose that makes it all right then. I mean, perhaps that makes it a good call. Maybe that's okay. Maybe it's all right for you to ring up someone. I mean, I wouldn't have the phone number of someone I met 20 years ago.
No, and I think it was only a fleeting, connection. But and I think when he was telling me about his sister, the both of us were absolutely shocked. But she's had the brass neck to do it, and it's worked out fine. And she's sort of rekindled this relationship, which was only fleeting initially, and has probably got stronger.
I suppose that's all right, though, really, isn't it? Because that is, I've often said to people, if you're a grown-up, it's all right for you to ask another grown-up something because they can say no.
Yeah, quite.
So, you shouldn't feel bad about asking.
No.
If they say yes when really they mean no, that's on them.
Yeah.
So if I ring up someone that I met 20 years ago and say, "Can I come and stay?" and they say yes, well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I think it's like that throwaway comment. You might have met someone on holiday, and they say, "Oh, well, if you're ever in the area, give me a call and we'll meet up." It's almost like it softens the goodbyes, the potential, the thought of I'm never going to see this person again. It makes that softer. So if someone does suddenly say, "Oh, you remember we met on holiday 20 years ago? Is it all right if I come and stay?" It's quite a tough thing to do from both parties, or I
wouldn't find it tough. I'd say no, it's not all right.
Yeah, no, well, quite. And I think the bigger ask, the easier it is perhaps to say no. Lending a fiver, that's neither here nor there.
Well, it'd be all right for you because you've always got an emergency tenner on you.
Yeah, I have, and I'd be happy with that.
I remember we were walking past a shop once and I didn't have any money, I needed some milk.
Yes.
You had to give me some of your emergency tenner, didn't you?
Emergency tenner, and it worked out right, didn't it?
Yeah, because it was an emergency, wasn't it?
It was an emergency, and they wouldn't have taken a card under a fiver or something, that sort of shenanigans.
Oh, don't remind me of that horrible incident in Canterbury.
Yes, no, I won't.
Grace.
I'll move on from that.
Right. Okay.
So it's a good conundrum. I'm not sure I answered it correctly.
No, well, you can't answer it incorrectly, can you? You can only answer
true.
it honestly.
True. The gratitude list.
Oh shit! I haven't got anything for this.
Oh, I'll just go 'cause it's quite easy for me. I'm very grateful for the birthday wishes I received this week, both on social media, direct messages, and the cards and presents I've had. It's been lovely, and I've been very grateful. I'm always very grateful for that people take the time to wish me a happy birthday, even though I don't take great importance by or hold great store by birthdays myself. I think it's lovely that other people are happy to join in the celebration with me.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, as we haven't been on air since when? July?
Is it July? Yeah, something like that.
I'll say I'm grateful for my birthday as well then.
Okay, yeah. Well, you can piggyback on the back of that. That's fine.
Because I feel exactly the same. I was saying to my daughter the other day that I'm not grateful. I don't feel grateful when birthdays come around and I'm another year older, because that feels a bit too quick.
Yeah,
they seem to race around these days. But I certainly enjoy my birthdays much more than I did when I was younger, because I think for those exact reasons, I feel very humble and grateful for everything that I've got. And I think the older you get, the more you realise the value of stuff you have in your life, and you let go of the need for stuff that you haven't got.
Yeah, totally agree.
And I also had on my birthday my daughter made me the best carrot cake I've ever had.
Wow, that is.
It was magnificent.
Well, that set the bar very high then, isn't it, for future carrot cakes?
Well, if I never have a better carrot cake, I'll still have had that one. So
yeah, you can retire on that one, on the thought of that.
I might retire. I won't ask for carrot cake next year because it'd be difficult to surpass it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
okay,
good.
No, very good. Very good. Now, okay, we've come to the last feature, and it's a new feature, really.
I'm excited about this.
Well, we've changed it from what it was before. It become a little bit stale, and I've knocked the footy stuff on the head.
Because we hate football, don't we?
We don't want to talk about it, especially at the moment.
Don't mention it.
I'm not going to. So what I've got is a sort of a music lyric challenge.
I'm liking this. This is good. I mean, I might be terrible at it, but I'm right up for it.
Okay, so what I've got, there's 4 questions, okay?
Yeah.
The first 3,
yeah,
you get a point for the artist and a point for the song.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so that gives you a maximum of 6 points. And the fourth question, well, I've tried putting it slightly harder.
Okay.
You get 2 for the artist and 2 for the song. So you got
all right.
So you've got a total of 10 points you can get to.
So I've got to get the song and the artist.
Yeah, you have.
Okay, all right.
So the 3 that are. Hopefully this is fairly gentle, but I don't know. It's very difficult, isn't it?
We'll see, won't we? We're going to find out.
We will see. So I just want to say, can you, when I ask you the questions, if you can leave a bit of a gap before you answer.
Yeah.
All right. And it's just, I had a bit of feedback from someone saying, the answers are spouted out too quickly whilst I'm trying to think of it myself.
Okay.
And I suddenly related to it, because I get that sometimes when I'm listening to either Popmaster with Ken Bruce.
Well, let me ask you this then, as you just mentioned that.
Okay.
I know we both quite like Richard Osman's House of Games.
Yes.
Right. Now, when I watch Richard Osman's House of Games, I often can get the answer before any of the contestants.
Yeah.
And I think they must edit that to put a gap in. Don't you think?
You may be right, although I often think because they're celebrities, a lot of them are not quite as sharp as.
Yeah, but some of even the really easy questions, you think that's so easy.
Yeah.
And, I sort of say buzz, whatever, and then it's still another sort of 5 seconds before anyone answers. I think.
Yeah.
How can nobody know that? They must edit that for exactly that reason, because they know people want to answer.
You may be right. You may be right.
Okay, good. I'll give a little gap then.
Yeah, rather than you having to edit a gap in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like to answer quickly because it makes me look as if I know what I'm doing.
Yes. Okay.
But I'll try and resist that temptation.
Okay. All right. We'll start the first one then.
Yeah. Let's go.
So the first lyric is: "Every whisper of every waking hour, I'm choosing my confession."
This is not going to be difficult for me to give a gap for this one. Every whisper of every waking hour, I'm choosing my confession.
I'll put the gaps in where they should be, perhaps. Every whisper of every waking hour, I'm choosing my confession.
What sort of decade are we talking?
This is sort of 80s, really.
Is it someone I like?
Yeah, I think you do.
What genre?
Or it's difficult to say, really, because it's sort of.
Is it a band or a single?
It's a band.
Every whisper of every waking hour, choosing my confession. I don't know. I'm going to guess, though.
Okay.
Oh, shall I guess? An 80s. I'm going to guess Depeche Mode.
No, good chat. It's REM.
Blimey!
Losing my religion.
Yeah, losing my religion. I would have got that. You robbed me of a point there.
Oh no, you can't just get the song on the back. I've already been told the artist.
Really?
It's not how it works.
Oh, bloody hell! This is hard. Okay, all right, fair enough. I got no points.
0.
Yep. Don't say it with such flipping glee.
Well, I don't want to get 10 out of 10 first go. It will give you nothing to strive for.
Every whisper, every waking hour. Yeah. All right.
Okay, number 2.
Yeah.
Looking out a dirty old window. Down below, the cars in the city go rushing by.
Okay. This is. I'll tell you who this is. This is Kim Wilde.
Yes.
Looking out a dirty old window. Na, 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 na. I can't remember the name of the song. Kids in America.
It is Kids in America.
2 points.
2 points. First of all, you said Blondie, didn't you?
Yeah, but don't say that because that was in the edit.
Oh, okay. Sorry, mate. Yeah. But you was.
Yeah, but you didn't tell me you had to accept my first answer. So
no.
Yeah.
I'll let you think it through before you present.
Thanks. Sorry, I got a bit excited. Yeah. Okay.
So you got 2 points. So good work.
Good. At least I've got off the mark.
You have. Number 3. But she didn't understand. She just smiled and held my hand.
But she didn't understand. She just smiled and held my hand. Are we in the same era?
Yes, early 90s, really. Britpop era. Or middle 90s, really, yeah.
But she didn't understand. She just smiled and held my... This is not ringing a bell. But she didn't...
It seems so obvious when I'm looking them up and writing them down, but yeah, in retrospect, a little bit tougher.
Yeah, but she didn't...
So you're owning your corn here.
Yeah. Which is good. It shouldn't be easy, should it? Yeah, don't think I'm going to get this. I'll have a guess, though.
Okay.
If we're going mid-90s, Britpop. I'll go Blur.
No.
Who is it?
Pulp.
Oh. Well, it's the same number of letters.
It is the same number of letters.
Do I get a point for that?
And often... No, unfortunately not. And the track was Common People.
Yeah.
But you can redeem yourself quite significantly here because this is quite a relevant
double pointer. Double points Friday.
Double pointer. It's a double point Friday, and it's quite relevant. This one as well.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So the lyric is: I could be handy mending a fuse when your lights have gone. You can knit a sweater by the fireside. Sunday mornings go for a ride.
Blimey. Same era?
No, this is 60s.
Oh, okay. It felt a bit 60s, actually.
I could be handy mending a fuse when your lights have gone. You can knit a sweater by the fireside. Sunday mornings go for a ride.
Oh, this is the Beatles.
Yes.
When I'm 64.
Yes. Which is so. There's your 4 points on that one. See, it's relevant because I had my 64th birthday this week.
Yeah, very good. And I mean, you've been getting in concessions to Maidstone United for the last decade, pretty much, haven't you?
Pretty much because of my old looks, my haggard looks.
Oh, that would have been quite embarrassing if I hadn't got the Beatles, wouldn't it? Really?
Well, I know. Well, you see, you're not a big Beatles fan.
Well, you say that. I mean, no, I'm not. I wouldn't say that they are one of my favourite bands, but I mean, everybody loves the Beatles, don't they?
They do, really. It's difficult.
If you like popular music, you love the Beatles, don't you?
Well, I've always maintained that. You've always taken that stance. They're a bit too popular for your liking, I think.
Well, that's good. I like that quiz, and I bet the listener enjoys that.
Well, I hope so, with the gaps, etc. And I've got, I've done them. I've already prepared the next 2 episodes we're going to do, and I've prepared the lyrics for those as well. So I'm ahead of the game at the moment.
That's very good. So hang on, I got 6 points, didn't I, this week?
You did.
So if any listeners got more than 6 points, then kudos to you. Not Mohammed Kudus.
No, we don't mention him.
No, but kudos.
Kudos, yeah.
All right, very good. Well, it's nice to be back.
So if they get more than 6, they've done the Landy, haven't they?
Yeah,
they've
that's
done
right.
You.
Yeah,
they've done the Landy.
They've beaten me this week.
Yeah,
but you know, we won't. Hopefully, we won't make a habit of that.
No. So yeah, well, it's good. Yes. No,
good. Well, that's been enjoyable, but I've had enough now.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Should we call it a day?
I think so. See you next time.
Laters, mate.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.